and Florida are connected by land. And Mexico's about a third bigger than it was. It's not only water that's on the move. As the Earth's rotation weakens, the atmosphere is now starting to settle toward the top and bottom thirds of the globe. These are the only places people can breathe. New York, London, Toronto are all safe. But Mexico City and other major urban areas to the south are now doomed. Their air too thin to breathe. In the United States, Denver is called the Mile High City. As the atmosphere thins, it now feels like it's almost 5 kilometers high, with an air pressure that's like breathing more than halfway up Everest.
Experts believe that air will remain breathable in lower elevation states such as Kansas, Nebraska, and Oklahoma.
Water is flooding in from the north, and air is thinning from the south. But a few small pockets of habitable land still exist in the middle of North America.
These areas are not expected to flood. They are calling this the habitable zone.
Staying in Denver is a death sentence.
Come on, guys, let's go.
For the young and old, the effects are already critical.
You okay?
Soon, the air will be lethal for everyone.
The U.S. government advises that up to 25 million people in parts of the Southwest should evacuate.
The slowing rotation of the Earth unleashes deadly friction between the Earth's outer layers and the inner molten core. Volcanoes and earthquakes have destroyed routes by road and rail.
Major highways across the country are closed, and those traveling by car are warned that there are no safe routes. Earthquakes, volcanoes, and violence are reported across the states, and those who must travel are advised that the government can offer little by way of help.
Those making the treacherous journey into the livable middle of the United States witness the geological upheaval caused by the slowing Earth. While earthquakes devastate the Midwest, retreating oceans leave major coastal cities high and dry. New York, Boston, Halifax are far inland. Australia has formed a new continent with Indonesia. And Asia's shallow coast is no longer a coast at all. In just 4 months, Hong Kong and other major ports are dry. Shipping has come to a standstill all around the world. Others are discovering the slowing Earth has a new danger: death by solar radiation. An invisible electric field called the magnetosphere normally protects the Earth. The field is maintained by our planet's spin. The rapid rotation of the Earth's iron core generates. The magnetosphere deflects blasts of solar radiation. But as our spin slows, The magnetic field is weakening, and our protective shield is breaking down. Tropical places like Miami are in no danger of flooding. The city sits on the Atlantic's continental shelf. Now, dozens of kilometers of that shelf are exposed, and Miami is landlocked. And here, the air is still breathable, but the sun is deadly.
Today's solar radiation index is 8, or extremely high. People outside are reminded to completely cover up and limit exposure to 15 minutes. And remember, sunscreen does not protect against the risk.
It's been just over a year since our rotation began to slow. We're now spinning almost 340 kilometers an hour less than we used to. The face of the planet continues to change. The waters of the Earth are still moving. And a year since it became possible to walk from England to France, it will never be possible again. At first, the shallow areas around mainland Europe drained as the North Atlantic Ocean converged on the pole. But now, as the polar sea swells, the United Kingdom and much of Europe are swallowed by a new ocean. London is gone. Berlin, gone. Moscow, gone. Historical cities of Northern Europe, all at the bottom of a new sea. Hundreds of millions of people lived here. In North America, survivors who have been able to make the trip begin to arrive in Kansas. A college campus has been commandeered. Scientists are working to create a refuge in what they think is the safest place in the United States. No flooding, lots of air, minimal earthquakes.
I know everybody's excited.
But they face an enormous struggle. There's no food being delivered in this shattered world. Roads are all but impassable. What food they eat, they'll have to grow here. It's a disaster on a scale we've never had to deal with. The survivors who have made it here are on their own. It will be a struggle, and they are the lucky ones. It's taken just 2.5 years, but now the spin of the Earth is just 320 kilometers an hour, more than 1,200 kilometers an hour slower than it once was. Entire countries are underwater. In others, the air is too thin to breathe. Survivors face another devastating consequence of the slowdown. All over the world, people desperately struggle to get enough sleep. Each day is now more than 2.5 days long. Each night is too. Humans are not wired to sleep in a world that's light for more than 60 hours straight. It's like severe jet lag, but it's permanent. People who live in cities that aren't flooded, where the air is still breathable, struggle with this critical lack of sleep. People suffer from blurred vision, and lack of muscle control.
Hey, you okay?
It's a breakdown commonly faced by astronauts, submariners, and Arctic explorers. Their brains are numb with fatigue, and our world is almost too strange to comprehend. The slowing Earth has a devastating effect on animals too. The migration of most mammals is triggered by the changing length of day. Now, the day is getting longer, not shorter. Some migratory birds die as they fail to fly south, and then are frozen as long periods of cold night close in. Other species face the same fate. Caribou, monarch butterflies, zebras, all doomed to extinction on a slowing Earth. As the oceans move to the poles, a new megacontinent is forming at the Earth's middle latitudes. A group of oceanographers in San Francisco is determined to make their way there. These survivors want to start from zero on what used to be the seafloor. It holds more hope for life than staying in a big city. It's a desperate decision, but on this radically altered planet, there are few good choices. In 2.5 years, a gradually slowing world has been completely transformed, and the worst is yet to come. 4 years have passed since the Earth's rotation started to slow. We're spinning at just over 60 kilometers an hour. The sun now stays in the sky for 13 days, followed by 13 days of night. The old concept of 4 seasons is gone. The climate is now defined by a cycle of bright and hot, or dark and cold. In the long nights, the temperatures can plummet to minus 55 degrees Celsius. Humans struggle to adapt. Most species of animals cannot. Even if they survived the floods and found air to breathe, they're now destroyed by the bitter cold. Animals that hibernate stand a better chance of survival. They're used to going without food for long periods. But their future remains uncertain, as their habitats are either flooded or airless. Plants are another casualty. Vital food crops like corn and wheat need lots of sunlight to grow. Temperate rainforests freeze and never recover. Only the boreal forests of Canada and the northern US are hardy enough to survive the cold and darkness, except they're now underwater. North American cities are now swallowed as the Atlantic and Pacific converge. Toronto, Halifax, Boston. Millions more people in the US and Canada are dead. New York, too, is being engulfed by the new ocean. But the water here is just 100 meters deep. Its skyscrapers only semi-submerge,